Okay, so I'd really like to welcome you to this session. So first of all, we'll introduce the team in a minute, and then I'm going to go through some of the stuff that you'll learn, and Graham and Harry, I may invite them or they can just butt in, they don't have to be invited. And then at the end, we'll look at where you might go as a result of this course, what it might prepare you for and what your ambitions might be. And you'll see I've started off with a quote from Harry there. There is a case study from Harry on our website, and you can read in more detail there about his experience of the course. So we might just start with the introductions. Harry, if you'd like to just introduce yourself first whilst your quote is up there.
Yes, hello, I am Harry, the one who's been quoted there. I'm doing this MSc in digital campaigning and content creation. I was a bit weird because I started in January, and yeah, I had a great time on the course, and hopefully I can help with this presentation. I don't know what else to say.
That's fine, Harry. I'm just butt in whenever you fancy it, and certainly you can answer some questions I think the potential students might like to ask.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
I'll move on to this. So you will be taught by a number of people at Queen Margaret, but we're your core team. So this MSc was really born out of the relationship that Graham, who is on the far left, Waleed in the middle, and I'm Emma at the far right. We have all been collaborating together. We've never taught together actually, but we've collaborated because we're all involved in campaigns. And we've worked together over a number of years using film. I've used film in the campaigns I've been involved with, and these two are amazing at communicating through film. And really, this entire MSc was written by us from our love of what we do and how we work together and how we can see what we produce. And you can see the quote there brought tears to my eyes when I saw that quote on the website, actually, because I think one of the things that we are commended on, and when this degree was being scrutinized to see if it would be validated, if it would be approved, one of the comments was that they felt what was called the community of practice was very, very strong, and that was based on the relationship between us as staff and the way that we were confident enough to bring our students into that as well. And I think this lovely quote from Maria, who's also a current student, hopefully reflects our ambitions in being very inclusive and enthusiastic about the work we do. So Graham, do you want to just introduce yourself and say a wee bit about yourself?
Yep. Hello there, I'm Graham Drysdale. I teach undergraduates and of course this postgrad course. I teach mainly the sort of storytelling aspect of it. How are you going to communicate your ideas to your audience? Who is your audience? What do you want to say to them? How are you going to emotionally connect? How are you going to get them to do something after they watch your film? And I supervise video projects alongside Waleed, and I think I'm really glad Maria said that. It's really a lovely quote, because we do try to be available outside of class time. So you can contact us either via email or just drop in and see us, have a coffee and discuss if there's any issues, technical or whatever. If you're having problems finding a client to make a film about, we can help in all sorts of aspects. So we try and make ourselves very much available to the students.
And I think also I'm going to big Graham up a little bit as well, because the quality of his films are amazing and the work that he is doing as well as being a lecturer. And I think that's a strength. We're all doing stuff. We're all making films. We're all campaigning. We're all very enthusiastic about. So we're not just teaching, we're doing. And Graham's made some amazing films and is very focused on social justice and social inclusion. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I've been making a series of films with care experienced young people in East Lothian. The East Lothian Champions, who are a group of care experienced young people who have lived their sort of young lives in care and are making their first steps out into into the world. So they meet every Thursday in Haddington, and I got together to make a few films with them about things that they want to campaign about, their access to housing, support, but also we visited the Scottish Parliament and showed the films to MSPs there.
And I'll just quickly talk about Waleed. You'll see some of Waleed's work as we go through. Waleed also makes a lot of films around social issues. He's currently, in fact, making an animation about refugees. But also his films have been up in Times Square in New York, because he also makes films for corporate clients. So he made a film of the building of the CalPERS, which people who are familiar with Falkirk in Scotland will know. And this amazing film with his time-lapse technique. And the photo at the beginning, you'll see, this was 2 years ago, the first one. And then another of his kinetic films already had way over 3 million hits. So if that doesn't tell you we know what we're talking about, then I'm not sure what would, because he has had multi-millions. I think he's about 8 million now for his first kinetic film. And so my name's Emma Wood. They look really cool and trendy, don't they, in their sort of turtlenecks and their jumpers. And I look much more corporate in our photos. And that probably does signal the difference between us, actually, in a way. So yeah, my background has been corporate, but I work now for activist groups, and my thing is strategy. I really look not so much at the creative process, but how you work out what an organization wants to achieve, what its objectives are, what its key messages should be, and how you then create content that is going to meet that strategic need. And it's that marriage, I think, of the two things. And I'll talk about that again in a second. But Harry, is there anything you would throw in at this point about the teaching team or?
Yeah, so for me, as a general comment, anything you want to achieve in film, I honestly think you can get out of course, because whether that's creative, whether it's corporate, whatever you want to do, you're going to know. And all the information, expertise, equipment, whatever it is, it's there for you, and then some, because I think going into it, I didn't necessarily understand what I'd learned from the theoretical side in terms of your modules, Emma, with the sort of strategic communications and PR. I didn't really realize how sort of applicable some of the rules in that were, and some of the ideas in that were just to general filmmaking, because it gets you thinking in a certain way, how you're representing people, how you're branding them. And it's actually quite key in storytelling or anything really. So yeah, I would say as a general rule, like, just if you're going into it, whatever your objectives are, they will be catered for on the course. And I always say as well that a lot of the work is done outside of the teaching, but whatever you need will be there. However far you want to push in terms of your work ethic, what you want to make in terms of films or the work you're doing outside of class, it's all the support is there that you need. And that's what I've found, because I've been doing a lot outside of class. So yeah, that's what I would generally say about it.
That's great. Thank you, Harry. Okay. These are the CalPERS for people that don't know them, and this is one of Waleed's films, short films that was made about them. So I think really what encapsulates what we do here in our MSc is bring together creative content meets strategic planning. And I love this film. It was quite controversial when we got it made. It's been made by a student, and it didn't really quite fit the whole corporate film that QM was expecting for its courses, but we fought for it. And it's got Waleed and Graham and I all talking about what we think the course is about and what we bring to it, and how it is this very special connection between being very creative and really good at putting together a story that will work online. We commissioned it from a student who we know is very creative, and we loved it. And QM went, but we really want headshots. We want people being interviewed. We don't want all this wacky stuff happening in the background. But we stuck to our guns and said, no, actually, This is more about what we're doing. We're trying to make creative film that will work online, and people aren't interested really in only seeing interviews which are headshots. So see what you think when you see it. I think it's wonderful. We all did, and we're proud that a student has made the film that represents our course very well.
Preset plan on making a promotional video. Thanks to technology, all you need is a phone.
This isn't good enough. It's 2018 and everyone has a smartphone. 5-year-olds to 90-year-olds, and well...
Limited is the #1 choice when you are looking to build a new home.
Brands and causes need to stand out. That's not to say you can't make a film on your smartphone, because you can. We do too. We don't all the time, but we do. Film is no longer an add-on.
You need to have an understanding of what film can do before you can then tell that story that you want to tell.
IT leaders predict in 2020, 7 trillion video clips will be uploaded every month, making up 75% of all global data traffic. With it, a need for a new breed of content creator is born.
When you're making films, you should always try to engage your audience. And in this course, we will just do that.
So at Queen Margaret University, we tailor the Royal First Course to prepare you for the world of tomorrow.
The key thing of any digital campaign is having a clear strategy.
You don't need a PR degree or a film degree. As long as you've got any UK honours degree, you're ready to join the Masters.
By the end of this course, you should be a real self-starter. You should know how to write, just film, edit your own short film.
If you want a course with your future in mind, go to Queen Margaret University and study
Digital campaigning and content creation, the perfect choice.
So it is that mixture then between people who campaign, people who know how to do the whole key message thing and think about how that works, as well as people like Waleed and Graham who know that if you're going to grab attention on a very crowded screen where people are constantly scrolling, you have to have really good content. Yes, maybe you can film it on a phone, but you have to understand how to tell a story and how to grab people's attention really effectively. Otherwise, you're just the same as anybody else who's making things, and people will flick on by and not stop and watch what you want. So that's really behind what we're doing. So what does it look like? Basically, an MSc is made up of 180 credits and a number of modules which are worth a different amount of credit, as you'll see from this table. So most modules are 20 credits, and you will take 3, if you're doing it full time, you'll take 3 20-credit modules in semester 1, 3 in semester 2, and in semester 3 you will do a project which is worth 60, and the project will be you plus a supervisor or maybe 2 supervisors, because if you choose to do a film, then I will supervise the sort of strategy bit and either Graham or Waleed will supervise the film bit. But as hopefully we have indicated, we work very closely and very well together, so I think you get double the benefit from that type of supervision. I've talked a bit about strategic communication planning already. That's about really understanding what an organisation wants and needs, or telling an organisation what it should be doing to try and achieve its objectives. Would you like to talk about just a wee bit about news-based media and visual storytelling, Graham?
Indeed, okay. So yes, these are the 2 modules that Waleed and I take care of. IM 205, news-based media content creation. So we assume that people don't know anything about making a film before they join the course. Some people will, some people won't. So this module is about seeing where your skill set is and how can we help you develop. So we do 2 projects, a hard news, so it's kind of like some news item that you've found that you will make a little film about as if it was a news item on the TV news, and then a soft news, which is basically a short documentary on a subject which interests you. Now these 2 projects are really just to get you up to speed with the camera, recording sound, lighting, interview setups and editing, of course. Then in semester 2, we do visual storytelling for media campaigns. So it's a bit more creative. You can do pretty much what you like in this module. It's a storytelling module. So again, it's short films, but you can use drama reenactments to illustrate whatever the story may be, or it may be a more creative approach to documentary storytelling. But we assume that you learn the basics of the gear, of the camera work and the editing in semester 1, and you can be a bit more creative in semester 2.
Digital communications is my colleague Paolo, who teaches that, but I do a day of it actually. I do a quarter of it, and that is very much as it sounds. It's looking at analysing communication online, really getting beneath the skin in terms of thinking who uses what platform, what is the profiles like, how do you get engagement, how do you measure, how do you optimize your content to be able to work well online, how do you frame a story to be interpreted in a particular way that is going to be strategically important for you. Those are the sorts of things we teach there. And then you get to choose, so you get an option each semester. And one of these might be industry-based learning and professional development. So that could be a placement where you go in, or it could be where you do some work that you would like to be doing to build a portfolio, and you use that as the basis. And Harry, I'm going to bring you in again there, because I know you've done this, and I think you would be best talking about it.
Yeah, so for me, for that one, I've been working and doing a series of digital creations, particularly in the sport of professional boxing, which is a bit random, but it was what I've been doing. I was making sort of promotional videos and working on audio for different companies and things like that. And so I was able to use those experiences and to write about those as part of the assignment. So yeah, that worked really well for me, and it meant that I was able to keep my work going whilst doing the masters and complete that module at the same time. So it worked really well for me. Yeah, really good.
So there's a lot of flexibility around that. And then you can also choose from anything across all our master's programs. So some people do international marketing, some people do fundraising if they're wanting to set up their own business. Some people might do political communication. There's a whole realm of options you can choose from across Queen Margaret University.
Yeah, and one of the best, sorry to interrupt, one of the best things for me about that was the fact that I got to interact with students that were sort of their core tracks were other things, but then we would mingle inside of these optional modules, and that was something that was really, really good, because we all had slightly different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at things. And I think for sure, when the masters is over, like I said in the profile piece that was done on me, that I think I'll be in touch with them, possibly even work with some of them, and I mean that. So yeah, you meet all sorts of different kinds of people on the course, and it's a real mixture of people. It's really good.
Great, thanks, Harry. So I'll move on to the next one. Basically, I think the question that often people are too embarrassed to ask, but really want to, is what are the assessments like? Will there be exams? Lots of people hate exams. I'm looking at one of them in the bottom right-hand corner. Harry Strouts. So the good news is, if you hate exams, you don't have to take any, because all the core modules, the assessments are not exams. We can't speak for the options that you choose to do, but nothing within our area is assessed by exam. And I'm not going to read this out, but you will be able to look at this. This is from the handbook that is on the website, so you can have a look at it in your own time. And you'll see that there's lots of different types of assessment. And one of the key things that I did want to just stress was, where possible, we try and enable you to choose an organisation that you want to focus on for your assessment. So, for instance, with my one, you can choose an organisation that you want to write a strategic plan for. And some people use that again because they're wanting to get a job with an organisation, or they want to go into a particular sector and they want something that will look great, that they can show people at their interview that they've done in that sector. There's no pressure on you to do that, because I said at the beginning, I'm the chair of a charity which is doing what I hope is very innovative work in Malawi, countering white saviour practices, and you can use us as a client. So we can also give you some really interesting organizations to work with, including my own. And it's not just me that says that. One of the MSc students last year then chose to do their final project, their 60 credit project, based on that organization, and won funding from the university's link with the Santander Bank, so that she flew out to Malawi and joined me. I was out there for a month, and we worked together on her project for a week, which was amazing. And there is a case study somewhere on the site where she talks about that experience, which has been great. And that's an example of how we really are open to involving our students in campaigns and work that we're doing. We're not just sitting at home watching the telly when we're not at work. We are actively engaged in what we teach about, and we are delighted if students are enthusiastic and want to get involved. And in fact, even if they're not enthusiastic, they get involved, as Harry edited a video that then went on to win our charity an award. So
I was under duress, that one was.
But again, it's good for his CV, and it counted towards his placement. So
I'm just joking. One thing I would just say about the assessments is, I'm presuming there's a fair mix of people listening to this. I'd only ever done degrees before this that were sort of classical. So I had done theology and then I'd done law. So whatever background you're coming from, the university will really help you in doing these assessments, because they're quite different if you've not done that kind of stuff before. But I wouldn't let that put you off if you're sort of thinking, oh, I don't know, this is something that's new and it's quite, it's a year, it's not that long. But they do, the support network is absolutely excellent. And yeah, I found I got a lot of support when I wasn't really that confident going into doing a business report on, a strategic comms plan for the first time ever. I didn't even know what I was looking at, but I managed to get it done. So there we go.
That's great. Thanks, Harry. So that's it really from us, but I'll hopefully answer questions. I would like you to press play on Maria's interview about what it's like to study here. She's a different profile, a different type of student from Harry, and I think that's really interesting as well, that you can see Maria's a community education person, and she came in not to become necessarily a filmmaker, absolutely not, but to help her community education practice.
My name is Maria. I'm originally from Spain. I've been living in Scotland for the past 4 years and studying at Queen Margaret for the past year. I'm a community educator. I was working in the third sector in Spain. I decided that I wanted to learn English and develop myself more professionally. So I came to the UK, first to England, where I lived for a few months, and then I moved to Scotland, and that changed everything. Well, I was looking for all the master's degrees available in Scotland. I went through all the list in every university for weeks and just keep coming back and looking for a particular master that I like, and there was nothing. And then I guess it was about the time the master got approval that I stumbled into it, and as soon as I looked at it, I knew this is it. This is the kind of thing I want to do. When I looked at the masters, I knew that what I was basically an activist. So with this master, I could be a professional and support any of those social missions, and that's why I chose it. I came into QMU looking for a master that was heavily focused on real skills. So not so much in the theoretical side and conceptual, although that's interesting, but I wanted to learn something I could really apply to a profession and that could lead me to progress in the career I'm following. Well, I have to say, the core models of the course, I think they are all fantastic. Whether it's film production or strategic communications, I think they work together very well. I was a bit scared whether I would be able to work with the technical side of the camera or whether the PR bit would be like too much. But I'm finding that I like all of it and they make sense together. I want to take advantage of all the opportunities the university provides. And you got travel funds, you got internships, mentoring, all those things, and you really want to take that opportunity on. For me, what makes a difference with this course, it's the lecturers, the way Emma, Walid and Graham work together, the wealth of knowledge they bring to class every day, the fact that they're always supporting and encouraging and pushing you to the next step, and I don't know, sometimes they have more faith in you than you have in yourself. I feel very lucky that I've got them around, and I think more people in my course feel the same. Edinburgh is one of the most beautiful cities I've been, and I lived in Rome. Scotland feels like home. People is friendly and welcoming, and they are open and question things. I really have trouble explaining what I find so special about Scotland. The moment I stepped down the bus on Waverley Bridge, it was life-changing. I just knew I was supposed to be here.
Okay, so are there any questions? Well, actually, do you know what? One thing I haven't covered is COVID and what we're going to do, what impact that will have. So one of the things we're all very proud of at Queen Margaret is that we've been hit by this pandemic and we've managed to manage it really well. Our students are very pleased at how things have gone, and I've just finished my postgraduate marking and expecting it to be a much lower standard than last year because days of face-to-face speaking had to stop, and I immediately had to do online teaching, and my students have been writing it during lockdown, but my goodness, the quality is fantastic. So although these are strange and difficult and scary times, one thing that we can be sure at Queen Margaret is that we've really managed it well so far, and whatever I feel now, whatever's thrown at us, it's all going to be fine. The strong indication is that we will be putting some content online, but that does not mean we record long, droning, boring lectures in our bedrooms and we put them up for you to look at whenever you want. What we can do is create content which can be looked at when students want to, but a lot of the content will be what is called synchronous. So in other words, you have a timetable and it says at 3 o'clock you have a tutorial with Emma Wood, and using Collaborate or something else, you will all be in a room and I will be able to run that tutorial just as I would if we were all in the room. I can put you into small groups to break out and chat. We will have all sorts of engaging, interactive time, but also you will have time on the campus as well. So there are plans being put together for that so that we can have small groups in the campus, and I think this is where our Saturday teaching will really come into its own because the campus will be empty virtually on a Saturday. So I'm pretty confident. We're hoping that that will be first semester, and then second semester will be as normal. Let's hope. But Janessa, I see you say, how do you think the pandemic will affect production or shoots? So actually, Graham, I think you'd be best at answering that.
Yes. Well, in semester one, we are assuming that small numbers of students can get into a classroom. So the maximum would be 9 students. And that would be probably ideal for a master's class, that we've got sufficient numbers of cameras that we could give you one-to-one training on the camera and on the edit suites. So we've got a number of edit suites in 2 rooms, and you can be socially distant, have one person on each edit suite. So in theory, we can do the camera training and the edit training on campus. When it comes to semester 2, hopefully the social distancing rules will be slightly different, I hope, because then you could work as if you want in a duo, but that aspect is slightly up in the air. But we don't see any problem in the actual training in semester 1. I think Fraser has asked, if you haven't come from a film background, are you given a lot of help in this aspect? You are, and we will obviously give you the basics in the class and give you a camera. You can borrow a camera to take away, not for weeks, but for a day or 2, and you can practice outside of class time. I mean, what we try to do at the end of the MSc is, if you want to use filmmaking as part of your work going forward, we try to advise you on a camera to buy, equipment, a laptop that can edit, so that when you leave the MSc, you're a little sort of one-person band that you can go and make films. So hopefully, if film is going to be a part of your work going forward, you would, and people often do, buy a camera. You know, DSLRs are not hugely expensive, and it makes you very flexible if you've got your own camera, which can shoot wonderful looking images. It's just, if you've got your own gear, you can just go somewhere at the drop of a hat and make a short film. So we try to give as much support as we can, technically.
Yeah, that was my situation, and I was the first person to do a January start, so I arrived halfway through. So I was playing catch up slightly. I'd never touched a proper. I'd used my phone to film a few things, but I'd never touched a DSLR camera in my life. And I think within 6 weeks I was being paid to make films. So, you know, if you want, but the thing is, it has to come from you as much as anything else. So they'll give you everything you need. Everything you need is there in terms of information, equipment, expertise. But as long as your appetite's there to learn how to do it and to get the equipment and get your hands on it, then you'll really quickly.
Thank you, Harry. Another thing we haven't quite touched on is where you might end up, what sort of career you might go for. And I think Harry's interesting in that point of view, because Harry used to be a script writer in Los Angeles and came to, so he might not have touched a camera, but he knew a bit about writing speech, and came to QM and thought, right, I'll do this MSc and then I'll be off again. But actually, rather than that, he is setting up his own business at Queen Margaret. It's called the Business Gateway, and it's an area that is very much about supporting people who want to set up their own businesses. And I think we've had 9 altogether students who have set up their own businesses based at QM, so they can continue to be part of this community of practice, as it was called. And Harry, do you want to talk at all about that aspiration, or what motivated that?
So I guess for me, coming onto the course, I mean, the easiest thing for me to say is what my motivations were for doing it in the first place. I was a signed scriptwriter. I am a signed scriptwriter. And I guess for me, the big thing was I felt like I had some pretty decent ideas, but just writing's not necessarily enough. You need to be able to make things as well and get things out there. Otherwise, you're dependent on people putting money up for what you want to create. I guess in the process of doing that, I've started to find avenues and options that are more financially lucrative. And I guess that's going to give me more of a career at the same time as doing sort of more creative things. Because, you know, it is always a bit risky, and it is always a bit of a long shot trying to be creative and make films and all that sort of thing. So for me, a big part of doing the MSc was consolidate what I'm doing and make sure that I'm not going to go too far down this one path and not have any stability in my life, because I would like a bit of that. I've been doing this for a while now, so I was kind of ready for it. So I thought, right, this master's sort of ticks all the boxes for me, because I can keep progressing creatively. I can learn all these new skills, and on top of that, I'm going to have a master's degree that lets me go to businesses and say, look, I've got a master's in digital campaigning. I know how to make this content. I also know how to create the plan for you. I can do the full spectrum. So for me, it's been about creating a career for myself and feeding my creative interest. When I found out, I was kind of shocked. It literally ticked all the boxes for me, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. So for me, it's gone great. And then the biz thing was literally just someone just mentioned it to me because they knew I was trying to do a few things working for myself, and I went and met with them and I signed up, and so far it's been good. They send through different sums of money that can be applied for, and there's just I've not actually met too many of the other people, but I know there's a real mixture of people that are part of the business community, and I believe that I can use some of the facilities for quite a while after I leave as well.
I'll just answer the one about the recruitment process. No, there isn't an interview. You can apply from the website. So you write an application. That's the process that you go through. And Janessa's asking, Harry, how's the uni culture? Any advice for potential international students?
It depends what you mean by uni culture. I'd say you'll be a postgraduate, and for me, to be honest, I'm actually quite well placed to answer this. I've been to 4. I've completed 3 universities, been to 4 now, and this has been my best university experience for sure. I think as a master's student, I just find QMU very pragmatic. Everybody gets that you're doing a master's, but you've got your own life as well. It's not like being an undergrad, and everybody's very realistic and very supportive, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's just been really, for me, it's been excellent. And I guess in terms of the culture, I really like the atmosphere at QMU. It feels very, very inclusive. It feels very friendly. It's quite a small campus, which I really like because everything's sort of close together. Everybody kind of intermingles, and yeah, that's the best way I could answer that question. If you want to elaborate on that, I'm happy to kind of go into more detail.
That's great. Thank you, Harry. Just saw another one there. Examples of final projects. So it's sort of tricky to give. We only started in 2018, so we don't have a mass of projects that we can pull off the shelf. So I gave you the example of the Malawi one. We've also got, well, Harry, do you want to talk about your project actually?
Yeah, so mine's evolved quite aggressively. I guess in the last sort of 12 months especially, I've been doing quite a lot of work with professional boxers. So I was making a film about an issue kind of which is unique to boxing, which is when you're at an early level in your career, your commercial profile is not that high, and boxing is all about numbers, and it's all a financial game. And it's looking at what does an athlete do when they're talented, but they've not got the commercial profile, and how difficult is it to make that next step to become a bigger name and to get the right moves for your career. So I was in the middle of filming it. I'd filmed all the training scenes and all that sort of thing, and I'd got a few interviews, but only about half of them. Then the lockdown happened, and so it's now sort of evolved into, it's the same general theme, but now coronavirus is being included, and I think I'm going to have to make myself some sort of character in it, so that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, that's what I'm currently working on, and there's a nice essay to go alongside that, I believe, so that will be fun. And
you've discussed that with Waleed, haven't you, Harry?
We had a chat literally today
about how it evolved.
Yeah, so initially we were going to just do something with the footage that I had, and then I'd seen a documentary a couple of years ago called Icarus, which is about the Russian state-sponsored doping for the Olympics. It's a really good documentary, and I remembered in that he'd used video calls for quite a large portion of it, and I thought, okay, maybe I can do something around that, and it's seeing as it's quite appropriate with the coronavirus and everyone being in lockdown. So I just jumped on a Skype call with Waleed today, and we threw around some ideas, and I've got to go away and work on it a bit more, but it's coming together, and I think it will actually possibly be better than it was originally going to be. So yeah, it could be quite good. I hope it'll be quite good. And so that's how it's kind of progressing at the moment. But yeah, it's very much, as I said all along, the support is there. It's always there. I've never once asked for help and been turned down at QMU. I'll say that. So there we go. And I ask for help lots.
And then other ones I'm supervising at the moment, one of our Spanish students, she's going to be making a film, hopefully for either Friends of the Earth, or I've got good contacts with an environmental big environmental group called Climate Chaos Scotland, and she's going to do something about a green recovery from COVID. So I think that will be really interesting. I'm excited. I'll be working with her about how to pitch that to whichever organisation she would like to work with on it. And I'll be looking at the sort of strategy around that. And then, Graham, you're the other supervisor, aren't you, for Anna? And
yeah.
Graham will supervise the production of that film. We've got some people who have chosen not to do film. One person is doing a blog about mental health. And we've got, I'm trying to think of an amazing one about one of our students who was a model. And she feels angry. Is that too, well, I'm angry. I'm angry on her behalf about how women models are treated after childbirth. And she's going to make a documentary about that, a very short one for social media. I think you're the other part of that as well, Graham, are you?
Yeah,
right, you are. So again, that'll be a very exciting one to supervise. And then we've got someone making one about a golf club and looking at golf and how it can help mental health and all the different things that can do. So you can see there's an absolute range of different types of projects that people want to work on. And hopefully you can tell from our enthusiasm that this is one of the reasons we designed this MSc, is that we really enjoy working with students who come with this different range of ideas. Or if they find it tricky, we can help them, as we did with the Malawian one, and help them develop ideas and hopefully inspire them in some ways as well. Is there anything you'd like to add, either Harry or Graham, that I haven't covered?
Well, we've got a number of international students in the participants today.
Yes, we certainly have got international students on the course anyway at the moment.
Yeah. That's what adds to the course, I think, the mix of people.
Yeah.
You know, as you went through those projects there's people from all different backgrounds, and they all want something slightly different out of the course. So I think that's half the fun, is sparking ideas of other people in the class, and it opens up, as Harry has said, you know, you meet, and not just in our classes but other classes, you'll meet people that'll give you ideas for future work.
And I love doing that project workshop, because everybody comes into it so stressed and they're all like, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And, oh, this is really panicking me. It's 60 credits and I just don't know what I'm going to do. And I basically make it a whole day workshop, but, you know, it usually lasts till after lunchtime. And we basically sit there and we do bash it out, and I've got a whole load of tools that I use to help people be creative. Being creative isn't just a case of sort of putting on some red braces and shouting into a mobile phone and thinking, oh, I've got to do this on my own. There's absolute tools that help you be creative, and being with each other and having discussions with other people and with us. We're used to pulling creative ideas out of people and seeing what will work and what won't work. And at the end of that session, it was wonderful. There were 15 people in it and everyone went away with an idea that they thought was workable. And I think only 2 people had gone into it with ideas that they thought would work. So again, it really isn't a question that you have to come with a burning ambition to do a particular type of project. That is going to evolve as you go through the course and you speak to people. And as I say, you're not alone, because you work with a supervisor or with a supervisory team.
The only other thing I'll say to international students is you get to live very close to Edinburgh, or in Edinburgh if you want to, which is one of the best cities in the world. So there you go. That's another bonus.
Yeah, great.
I think jumping in, I actually manage the international office at the university, so to echo what Harry said, I think, you know, Edinburgh sells itself, it speaks for itself, and we do welcome from a student population really of under or round about 5,000 to have about 90 plus different nationalities, you know, come into the university. We want people to come in with bring a little bit of their own spark and their own ideas and creativity from wherever they're coming from in the world. But what we also want to do is give them a good Scottish welcome, and also allow them to become global Scots as well, and take a little bit of a bit of Scotland away with them wherever they go after they've completed their studies. There is an international society on campus as well that is run by the international students for the international students. So we'd encourage lots of people to join them and share, when we can, share social events again. Hopefully that's soon. There's a welcome there for everyone, and that's really important as well. Can I just sort of put a little plug in for our QMU International Facebook page as well? Any international students are interested in that, and the postgrad students Facebook group. So it's like an offer holder Facebook group that we'll be posting a lot of information on. And it's also, there can be student-to-student engagement there and sharing ideas and engaging with people. So it's another way of just sort of saying, look, we're open, we're transparent, but we're safe and we're welcoming, we're friendly.
Just saw another one there. Maybe Greg, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's usually around about the first week in July every year. So that's something that we usually will host off campus in terms of the official ceremony that takes place. It's been in the Usher Hall in Edinburgh. So they'll have the formal graduation ceremony off campus, but then we bring everyone back for a kind of drinks and canopies reception back on campus afterwards. And there's photographers and lots of there's pipers and various things take place on campus. It's a beautiful event. I know certainly the staff, even that are maybe not involved in graduation, all like to be around to sort of see students and see everyone dolled up to the finest, I suppose, as well. So it's a beautiful occasion. It's not happened this year in July, but going forward. So if you're starting this September and you're finishing, the following year graduation should hopefully be back to the normal spectacle that it is.
I'd just like to say a really big thank you to you all for joining us. And also, it's been great to be online collaborating with the wonderful Graham Drysdale and Harry Strauss as well. It's been really nice. It almost feels like we're on campus. We're usually having lunch or something like that when we have these talks. But it's been really nice to be joined by you, and I hope everybody else that's given you a feel what the teaching team's like, and hopefully the enthusiasm that we all share.
And having Harry with us as well, I think that definitely adds so much value in terms of getting the real experience. And we always say this, I, as someone in the international team, or Emma or Graham, can talk about how great the course is, how great the facilities are. To hear it from yourself, Harry, as well. You've gone through it. You've gone through the course. You've got a real experience there, and you can be as honest as you need to be there. We have to provide you with that quality of education, that quality of experience, and the fact that you're able to give an honest statement for that is amazing. So thank you very much to all. Thanks to you guys for hosting as well. It's been brilliant. We've taken an awful lot from it, and I hope everybody else has as well. But stay safe. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Emma.